Wait for it. Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans, a Stabby chaos coordinator, and one chief shenanigator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let the man who needs no introduction introduce himself anyway, the one, the only Mr. Harry Turtledove.
Hello. Yes, you have found an escaped Byzantine historian who tells lies for a living because he can't find honest work.
I love it. I love it. That's what we should all do.
This would be funny if only it were funny, you know?
Yeah, if only it wasn't so true.
So, do you have a favorite Byzantine emperor, if you're a Byzantine historian?
Well, let's see. I did my dissertation on Justin II and Tiberius Constantine at the end of the 6th century, and I wrote a straight historical novel about Justinian II, who reigned from 685 to 695, and then again from 705 to 711, and the regnal years give some tiny suggestion of what an interesting career he had.
So
you notice the emphasis on interesting.
You know, when I was in
that means he was in trouble.
When I was in high school, we had to take world history as one of the classes, and I remember the teacher gave us that old proverb, "May you live in interesting times." And I made the mistake of asking what that meant, and he looked and he said, "You know, young Mr. Handley, when you were old enough to understand, you will wish that you didn't." And that's the only answer I got. And now I understand, and I wish that I didn't.
Also
so that emperor sounds like he wished he didn't know too. But all right, with that out of the way, we do have the religion question. Are you ready for this, sir?
I suppose so.
All right. Stargate, Babylon 5, or Battlestar Galactica?
Probably Babylon 5, just for the quality of the world building.
Okay. What about it did you like the most? Is there any specific aspect of the world building?
The depth of it. I just, Joe Straczynski thinks these things through, and I admire that a lot.
Okay, that's a valid answer. All right, and because we are polytheistic here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, Conan the Barbarian, Kull the Conqueror, or the Beastmaster?
Probably Conan.
Classics, you can't go wrong with any of those, but Conan is an excellent one. Have you seen the remake with, I think Jason Momoa did it?
No, I haven't yet.
That's on my list to say. At one point in time, we've been asked to do an episode where we watch both of them and then compare, which could be fun. As long as they don't.
Bunch of muscly barbarians. I'm in on that one. I will happily watch muscly barbarians running around. I'm good with it.
All right, you just voluntold yourself. That's how that goes. All right. And since last time you told us your favorite dinosaur, we're going to ask you this time, what is your favorite zoo animal?
Oh, I would say elephants, except they're really too smart to keep them in zoos, you know.
Yeah.
And also too large. But they're fascinating creatures. They're, how do you evolve a hand when you're a 4-footed thing that weighs 6 tons? Oh, you use your nose. Well, sure. Yeah.
So, did your love of elephants start with Dumbo? I don't know when that came out, so I don't know what age you would have been.
I don't know when I don't exactly know. It may well have started with mammoths and things because I was into prehistoric critters.
Okay. Did you see that in Russia scientists in Russia were trying to bring back the woolly mammoth from DNA they recovered from Siberia?
Yeah, there's been talk about cloning them for years. Maybe it'll actually happen. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. We'll find out.
Yeah, they did the quasi-cloning with the dire wolf, so now I'm wondering if maybe we might actually get something close, but
I don't think the dire wolf was a real thing. I could be wrong.
I don't know, because even if it was, there's still some level of guesswork because they're still using modern wolves to merge with. So is it really a dire wolf, or is it some sort of hybrid at that point? I don't know. I am not a scientist for a reason because math.
Talk about religion questions.
Yeah, that is fair.
Yes. How does that work, and how do we feel about it?
Yeah, at some point in time, when I can figure out a way to do it in a way that isn't offensive to people that are genuinely religious, I'd like to start the discussion about transhumanisms and what it means to evolve past that, and if we become a new species. Because with some of the bionic enhancements and genetic enhancements that people are talking about in science fiction, when that becomes a reality for fiction, do they become something else? That's an interesting conversation, I think.
Maybe an interesting thing we'll find out about.
Maybe, but
I was going to say, I love my bionics, so.
But it's one of those ones where you want to do it in a way where you can be respectful for people, and so I try to wait until I have an angle that I'm not afraid of controversy, but I don't want to offend just to offend. I don't think that gets anything done, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. All right. And because we are civilized human beings here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, we are no longer knuckle-dragging troglodytes. Coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
Coffee, cream, and sugar.
Okay. What kind of cream do you add? You go with straight milk, or do you go half and half, heavy cream? What?
I do heavy cream. Sometimes I go Viennese, with whipped cream. Mitschlag.
Okay. That sounds delicious. Okay. And Jana, you're going to ask your favoriteest question of all, and I'm going to put up the banner for you. Are you ready for this, Jana?
I'm ready for it.
All right. I got the banner. Ask your question.
Okay, so our question is, because we are going to be airing this right around Thanksgiving, do you have a favorite holiday food or, traditional holiday thing that you eat that and you know that the holidays are here?
I think it's the stuffing that gets cooked inside the turkey.
Oh,
ooh.
Yeah.
Yum.
That is good.
Yum.
Yes, stuffing's a good direction to go.
Now, do you like the stuffing because it's cooked in the turkey, or are you okay with people that have done? Because now some people are doing the stuffing sans turkey where they'll cook it off to the side.
I know. I mean, we usually do both. Because we make more stuffing than there is room to stick it in the bird.
That means you're doing it right.
So I take that means you're not one of these hams for Thanksgiving kind of families that we're starting to see more.
Boy, are we not a ham for Thanksgiving family.
So do you have a favorite dessert?
Whatever's in front of me.
I like this.
Oh, guy. Man after my own heart. I know. You can come and visit our Thanksgiving anytime that you want, because we have ham and turkey and a plethora of desserts and usually at least 2 kinds of stuff. Exactly. It's yummy.
So for me, it's always the deviled eggs. They always get you too. And I know why they call it deviled eggs is because it's the devil on your shoulder whispering, you can eat one more. And before you know it, you've eaten a dozen eggs and your stomach feels like you're going to die. But they're so good. I mean, if you're going to die, that is not a bad way to go.
Well, and it is a nice way to get some protein into you. And, I can come up with a lot of justification for eating a lot of deviled eggs.
Man is the rationalizing animal.
Yeah. So you have a favorite beverage that you associate with Thanksgiving? Some people make, drink concoction mold or spiced beverages or whatever. Is there any tradition you have in that regard?
No, not really. One of my daughters is a serious wine person, and she brings wine, and a lot of the people at the table drink that. And I am a fairly serious beer guy, so I usually drink beer at Thanksgiving.
Okay. Do you have a favorite type of beer? Is it IPA, lager?
I like the darks. One of my favorites, and one that we get fairly often is not a real dark, but it's New Belgium triple, and it's 8.5% and really, really tasty.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like is when you're in a city that has a decent amount of breweries where you can do the flights and try a lot of different kinds.
Mm-hmm.
I find that I like light beers, but most people, when you say light beers, they think like Budweiser or Miller, where light beer just means, piss water. But light beer is actually the difference between light beer and dark beer is how it's brewed, not the flavor. And so light beer actually I like the flavor. There's a brewery out of Hawaii. It's called Bikini Maui Brewery. And it is, the hops are grown on an old pineapple plantation. So the hops have a unique flavor to them when they
nice.
brew them, and it's really good. And like my mom's not a drinker, but she'll use the beer for a beer chicken recipe we have, because the beer with the pineapple flavor in it mixes really well, and it hits differently than just like any other beer we've tried with it. So I really like that, but unfortunately, you've got to import that, so it's a little bit more pricey. The things we do but that's the good thing, is when you reach the age where you're not drinking to get drunk, you just drink because you like it, you can afford to splurge on the good stuff.
Yes, I agree with that. I don't remember the last time I had 2 beers, but I will have 1 beer fairly often.
Yeah. So, are you a sports person? Is that something you guys do on the holidays? Because I know some people will sit and veg on the sports games on the big
I
TV.
am, but not usually on the holidays, because not many people, who will visit on the holidays are sports people. So that's usually a blank spot, and I'll catch up later.
Jana is a sports ball person, and she explains all the things to me.
I'm a sports ball person. I enjoy it.
But I never really got into watching them. But, you suffer a few concussions, and they don't want you to play contact sports anymore.
Yeah,
so,
I hear that.
Yeah, so Jana just tells me about the sport so I can pretend.
It's true. It did make him look smarter.
All right. Well, we wanted to, normally we don't air the commercial this early, dear listener, but I want to have more time to get into the topic of his books. So we're going to just roll that beautiful bean footage, and then we're going to dive right in, because he also wants to tell us about an update from the series we talked about last time he was here. And I want time for both of that. So we're going to pause for a moment while we shamelessly shill for the man.
What will you do when the world goes belly up? Will you paint stripes on your cheeks, grab your flaming guitar, and enjoy the glorious post-apocalypse party? Or will you gnash your teeth and wail at the loss of civilization? Either way, we've a story for you. This post-apocalyptic collection has 15 great stories, each with its own spin on our future. Dive right into From the Ashes, a Bayonet Books anthology, before the future becomes now.
All right. Thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude, dear listener. And we dove really deeply into his nerd pedigree the last time he was here. And since we are linking to that episode in the show notes today, rather than have him revisit the ground he's already tread, we're going to just let that episode stand, and you can go revisit it. And we encourage you to, if you haven't seen it. And with that, we're going to dive in. So you have written a new novel, new recently, called Powerless, that your publicist reached out about. And then I read the description, and it sounded really interesting. And I like post-apocalyptics in general, because we all like to imagine how we would fare in the world when it all ends. And so can you tell us the origin for this novel, and then we can explore from there?
Well, I was reading a collection of Václav Havel's essays, and I came across the famous one, The Power of the Powerless. And in it, he wonders what would happen if a storekeeper in communist Czechoslovakia were given a propaganda poster, "Workers of the World, Unite," as part of a new Soviet, government propaganda campaign, and he's supposed to stick it in the window. And instead of sticking it in the window, he goes, "Oh God, this old thing again. Are they still doing this? Give me a bleeping break." Crumples it up and throws it in the trash. And I thought, that's interesting. What happens to him afterwards? And Havel talks some about that too. But, how does this work? There's a story in this. And I wrote a novelette about it, and I called it Powerless. And I sold it to the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, where it ran in 2018. And one of the people who saw it was Greg Benford, whom I've known for many years. And Greg said, "That's a good story. You ought to turn that into a novel." And I thought about it. And I thought, yeah, I could probably do that. And I thought, all right, how do I do that? And the analogy that came to me, this was, I should note, this was written before the big war in Ukraine started in 2022. The analogy that came to me was Alexander Dubček's experiments with communism with a human face in the late 60s and what happened to him when the Russians crushed him. Because the world that I envisioned in the novelette is a world where Marxism, Leninism, Stalinism has succeeded as the dominant ideology of the world to the same extent that capitalism has in the world we really live in. And where all the countries in the world are, to one degree or another, Marxist, Leninist, Stalinist. They're a bunch of reds of varying flavors, and if they get out of line, Russia sits on them. You know, any analogies to the real world are, of course, purely coincidental, of course.
Always.
So, does this novel fit into any of your existing universes, or is it
No, this is separate. It is a standalone.
Will it have sequels to it, do you think?
I doubt it very much.
Okay.
I never say never, but I doubt it very much.
So, if
go ahead.
One of the things Jen and I like to ask, because we do have families that listen, and sometimes parents are screening books for their kids. If you were going to rate the appropriateness of this book for younger readers, how would you describe it for potentially parents that are listening?
It's somewhere between PG and PG-13. There's some bad language in it. There's not a lot of sex. I don't think there's any explicit sex. There's not a whole lot of violence. There is some.
Okay.
One of the things you find out is that a lot of the times the kids will find the stuff whether their parents want them to or not.
Yeah. Most of the time nothing that you've written has been, even when it had violence, ever felt gratuitous. It felt like it served the plot. You're not one of those guys that writes splatter porn or that kind of thing.
I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah, I would say probably late middle school and beyond would be fine, just in general with most of your writing.
I think I keep having people who tell me online, "Oh yeah, I found you when I was 11 years old," and I go, okay, well, I mean, I found some of that stuff when I was 11, 12 years old too. So, all right. It's educational in various ways.
So how much of this novel changed from the original format when it was a novella?
Oh, well, the novella is essentially the first two chapters of the novel. There's some stuff that's been rearranged, some stuff that's been left out because it would fit in better later on. There's a little stuff that's been added so you could see a little bit more of the world that you're going to be visiting in greater detail than you did in the shorter work. It's the kind of thing you do to a piece of short fiction when you turn it into part of a novel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is it
so historically? Where does it pick up at? Because it says. Because I'm thinking one of the things the cover reminds me of is The Man in the High Castle. But that's right after World War II.
The chronology, the time period in which it's set is not defined. What is defined is that the world has been the way it is for a long time. One of the minor characters talks about the time when his great or possibly great-great, I forget which, grandfather got purged and what that did to the family for a couple of generations afterwards.
Oh, wow.
This is a boot in the face of mankind forever, to quote Orwell. The break point, you can, I don't go into great detail over what happened, but I do mention in there that the United States broke up into constituent parts. First, the Confederacy gained its independence, then Texas seceded, the West Coast seceded. There are half a dozen countries in what is the United States in the real world. And our protagonist lives in the Pacific Democratic People's Republic, which I chose because then I can set it in Los Angeles, where I live, and in the San Fernando Valley, where I've lived for the past 41 years. So,
Nice.
you always, if you can find an excuse, you write what you know. The other thing is that I think this is more dramatically interesting to English-speaking readers than something that's set in Eastern Europe.
Fair.
I may be wrong, but that's that was the logic I was working under.
Because it brings it home for people. It's not over there kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. It's people who live in Los Angeles. Oh, I know that part of town. Yeah. Oh, it's run down. It's they're building giant apartment blocks up there. Oh my God. Yeah.
So what led you to pick Los Angeles as the location when you could have just as easily used Chicago?
I've lived here my whole life. I know this
Okay.
city in a way that I don't know any other.
It's a good reason. Do you have a favorite character in this novel? I mean, obviously you love them all equally. As parents, we understand that, but
well, my protagonist is a well, how do I put this politely? He's a stubborn son of a bitch. He reminds me of someone I know.
Just a little.
Also, his main antagonist is based on somebody I knew when she was in her 20s, except here she's in her 50s and she's hard as nails.
Okay. Are there any secondary characters that you had fun adding into? Because obviously, the book is never just one person.
Oh yeah, I mean, the building your cast is part of the fun of writing. I mean, the person as I say, the person I called Marianne Hannigan is based on somebody I used to know a long time ago. And
Did they? Is the person still alive enough that you could tell them this, or
no? Unfortunately,
yeah. It's always cool because I've got to do that too. When you get to use a friend and they're still around, you get to tell them that you immortalized them in such a way. So when you use for technology, because obviously you don't really nail down a timeline, is it technology we would recognize? Is it some sort of future?
Oh yes, it's very recognizable technology. It's probably 1950s, 1960s technology.
Okay. Did you stick with that for the cultural pastiche you layered over it?
Well, also to suggest that in this system, changes are dangerous, and so they discourage them rather severely.
Yeah, I wondered because when you move forward with big technologies and that kind of stuff, that has a tendency to put ripples in the way that the countries are run and that things happen. So that makes a lot of sense. The more you keep people the same, the easier it is to keep that restrictions in place.
Back in the Eastern Bloc in the 60s, they used to license typewriters and take samples of their typefaces so they could tell who was typing what. And,
wow.
Crazy stuff.
And if you set it with the 50s tech, you don't have to worry about the internet, cell phones.
Exactly.
You can kind of have the story in a box.
Exactly. This kind of stuff is extremely subversive.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. When you were writing this, was there any part of the story that, as you expanded the novella, that surprised you when you were writing it?
What I write almost always surprises me. I'm a total pantser.
Oh, I did not know that about you.
I love that.
Oh, I am.
Have you always been that way when you write?
Okay, I get to tell a story on myself. A lot of
Yay!
people will know that I have written 4 books where the aliens invade Earth in the middle of World War II, right? You know, the World War books.
I love those books.
Thank you. I was on the 4th one. I was about 2/3 of the way through the 4th one. I looked at it. I looked at what I was writing. I realized, holy bleep, I have no idea how I'm going to end this, and I don't think that's really something I want to tell my publisher right now.
Oh, no.
And I thought, well, subconscious, you better come through. I better get an ending out of this story, or I'm going to be very unhappy, and so will they.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did. I don't quite know how, but I did.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I was going to ask you kind of jokingly is at the bottom of this cover, it says the best-selling author of Guns of the South. And I keep thinking, you wrote other books too that are just as awesome.
Thank you.
Because the World War series, I really like.
That's the one people know, and it's the one that let me quit my day job, which is awesome. And it's also one that I had no expectation that I was ever going to write, which was interesting again.
All right.
Yeah, I just, when I've read a lot of your books, and I just keep, they all were good. So just to pin only one, it always is amusing to me. Like, no, he's got other stuff too. I promise, they're all good. So because you obviously wrote in a kind of this dystopian world, do you think you're going to come back to other dystopians? Did you have fun with that sort of setting in general?
I have no idea what I'm going to do. I mean, I know what I'm doing on the book I'm working on now. I have an idea for another book altogether separate from the book that I'm working on now that I have to see if I can convince a publisher. Oh, yes, we really do need this. And because this one is not one that I'm going to write on spec.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This one I'm not going to.
Which shows your experience, because that's a hard part of the business. I mean, most of our audience are not writers, but I know that sometimes they're very curious about, what it is that authors go through, and knowing when an idea has the legs that you say, I'm going to just do this on spec versus I've got to wait until I have a contract hot in my hands. That's a hard learning curve.
Yeah, it is. When I described the idea behind Guns of the South to my agent, he said, if you write this, I could sell this for a range between X and Y, which was somewhere between 4 and 5 times more than anything that I had ever, gotten for any other book that I'd written. For some reason, people are more interested in the American Civil War than they are on fantasy based based on the Byzantine Empire. I don't know why that is, but it does seem to be true.
That's just sad.
We have odd fascinations.
And it actually surprises me. I did some level Civil War reenacting in college, and there was a British exchange student there. And our Civil War is bigger for reenacting in Britain than theirs.
Well, the costumes are easier to make. You mostly don't need an ironsmith, a blacksmith to make them.
Yeah, don't have to have your own smithy or any of the knowledge.
Yeah, but theirs were cooler, like a lot more vibrant colors. So if you want to attract girls, brighter is better, I'm told. But so speaking of girls, does this have any? Some of your books have some romance elements in them, and others haven't. Does this one have a romantic subplot?
Our protagonist is married to his long-suffering wife who puts up with him. and
I love that.
and has been for some time. And she says, "You're going to get in trouble." And he goes, "Yeah, I know." And he keeps doing what he's doing, and he does get in trouble. And so yeah, no, the marriage is already in place when the story starts. They've got 2 kids who are dismayed by what he does and how much trouble they land in because of what he did. And yeah, his big interest, his big worry is she going to leave me if I keep doing this stuff? Because she couldn't, she'd probably be better off.
Mhm.
That is some
But
deep.
that's a great angle. That's a great angle to look at, because so often in these kinds of stories we get really wrapped around what's the main character doing. But there's a real honesty to looking and saying, how do the things that they do affect the people who love them?
Yes.
And I don't think a lot of authors even consider that, because it's not as sexy sometimes to say, yeah, Bob's doing the cool, exciting things over here on the booms and the bums. But what about his wife at home who has to, keep the farm going or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just as important, but it doesn't always get the love.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, I'm glad that you included it that way. Do his kids get bit parts in this, or are they sort of just off in the wings?
No, they get bit parts. I mean, if you have children, they are going to get bit parts, at least. It comes with the territory. You did
Oh, yes,
what,
they change
Dad?
everything.
So this story, for those that are curious, what length is it for someone who's saying, because they might not know exactly what we mean when we say novel length.
This one is about 110,000 words, somewhere right around there. It's not real long. It's not real short. It's just it's book sized.
Okay.
Not a door stopper. I've written some of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but not a 50,000 word Raymond Chandler mystery either.
I mean that or not a 40,000 word ace double. No, it's not.
Yeah, so that's what 350 page, roughly, somewhere around there, dear listener.
Not quite that much. Somewhere like 280, something like that.
Okay. I tend to go by the what it tells me for the Kindle, because that's how I read, because I can magnify it. But I also know that rarely matches up with the print copy. So as far as page counts. And I just pulled it up. It says on Amazon, it says for the Kindle version, it's 363 pages. So
okay, no, it's not. All right. It's not that long in the Dead Trees version.
See, the Dead Tree versions are great because they can decorate your shelf trophies as on your wall.
I like print books. I'm old fashioned. Everybody, I just am.
I like to collect the ones I really like just because I want to have them forever. But when it comes to reading, the ebooks allow me to magnify them, which gets around my head injury.
Okay.
And that is cheaper.
This is a perfectly good reason for doing what you do.
I like audiobooks because that can be fun too, but that's a pricey hobby. So magnifying the print is the cheaper man's alternative.
Oh yeah, print books is part of why we bought the house that we bought. Because when my husband and I got married, we merged 2 very large science fiction and fantasy collections. And since then, we have continued to collect. So there needed to be a proper library. So we have one room that is totally dedicated to the books. Mm-hmm. And then it outgrew that too. So most of the rooms where there's standing room for a bookshelf, there's a bookshelf in there. And then my daughter came along and she's got her entire wall in her closet.
Well,
the clothes are in a cubby and it's all books.
If you look behind me, you will see that yes, those are bookshelves.
Oh, yes. I love it.
Yep.
We learned, Jana, you weren't on this episode, but we had Harry on with Mercedes Lackey, SM Sterlings, and Bill Fawcett for an alt history panel. And I learned during that one that if you have more than 1,000 books, you're officially a library. So you should do a count real quick and see.
Oh, I don't think it's. I know damn well I'm a library if that's the definition.
Yeah, he said. Bill Fawcett said that was the definition: is 1,000 books.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm at about 3,600, and so
you're free libraries. Deduct that from your taxes. I'm not.
We passed library a while ago. Well, and sometimes I feel like a lending library because once people around you know that you have the books, I get a lot of calls from moms going, "My kids got to read thus and such a thing. Do you happen to have thus and such a thing?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, send them over, and we will go peruse the shelves and see what we can come up with." It's tremendous fun.
Do you have a card catalog though? That's the important question to organize them.
I have an online one. It is not, so Melissa McShane, who's a good friend of the show, she has a massive library. I think she's over 6,000, 7,000 books by now. And she has an online card catalog thing that she does, and she keeps trying to convince me to use it. And one of these days I'm going to dive in there. But I haven't done it yet.
Laura has an online catalog for her Broadway books and for her Broadway music.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't. I just have books.
You just kind of have an general idea of where they are, and
yes,
in that corner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you were writing this book, once you started going on it, did you think when you were converting it from novella to novel, did you have any plans to make drastic changes, or did you think you were just going to expand it?
No, this one was going to be an expansion. I liked the short piece pretty well, and I just thought, okay, what can I make? What can I do that flows naturally from this? And what I did was to expand from my protagonist's attempt to create a freer place for himself in an unfree country to the country's trying to create a freer place for itself in an unfree world.
Oh, nice.
And that was what I was basically doing in the novel-length expansion. As I say, this was based on Alexander Dubček's Czechoslovakia.
Mm-hmm.
When you write these kind of dystopians, do you have to do anything as part of your process to cheer yourself up when you're done for your writing for the day?
No, I'm pretty good at divorcing the part of my head that's telling the story from the rest of me. You sort of have to be, or otherwise there are a lot of things that you wouldn't want to write at all.
Oh, yes.
So with this one, because obviously, like when you did Guns of the South, there's some level of research you would have had to have done.
Yes.
For that. Did you have to do any research for this one?
Oh, absolutely. I did a deep dive into what Czechoslovakia was doing in 1968 and how it got crushed. I also read Dubček's memoirs, which helped enormously. Yeah.
Was that accessible in English, or did you have to find a translator? Okay.
No, that was accessible in English.
That's one of the problems if you go too far abroad for inspiration, is finding English versions of things.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you speak multiple languages, which I don't.
There are some I can manage in. For my Byzantine stuff, I did a lot of that stuff in Greek.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I could see that. We actually interviewed someone who did a time travel one to Carthage, and their get around the language barrier was they spoke Greek and ancient Greek, and since Greek was the trade language, and when they said that, I was like, Harry would have liked that.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
All right. So is there anything about this, because you wanted to tell us an update about one of your other series that you've been on the show about? Was there anything about Powerless? So we don't want to give spoilers that you feel like we need to hit on before we roll over to the other one.
Well, I wrote this in the sane interregnum between Trump 1 and Trump 2. And I really didn't think when I was writing it that we would find out what authoritarianism looks like in such great detail right here at home. Life is full of surprises. Not all of them are pleasant.
Oh, goodness. I do have one question. If somebody were to read the novella and then read this, are they going to miss anything? Or are they going to feel like it's duplicated? Or, well, does that expansion just really natural if they wanted to read both?
I think the expansion feels natural. I tried to make it so because it flows. That was one of the things I did when I was writing the novel, was to introduce a little bit about the situation in the country as a whole into what was in the short fiction version just a one-man story.
Okay.
So you could get a hint of something's going to be going on here later on, and then when I got to later on, it did go on.
Fantastic.
Okay, and so the next series that you've had an update on, because when we talked about it last time, we didn't have links for it, is the City of Shadows series. I'm going to pull up the cover so we can show those. But you said you had some developments on the second one that wasn't available last time.
Well, yeah, that is available for pre-order. It's called Lightning Runes. It is again set in with my private eye, Jack Mitchell, in a post-war noirish Los Angeles, except it's Los Angeles with vampires and zombies and ghosts and corrupt cops, which were really there in the 40s. And also the Central Avenue jazz scene and the red cars and all that good stuff. So I was, this is Los Angeles from the time just before I was born.
So this is the first book cover, Twice as Dead. It's in the city.
That came out this past March.
Right. And then this is the sequel that we have links for. It's on pre-order now and comes out in this coming March, if I remember the date correctly.
Yes, that's right. That is the current plan. I am supposed to be doing, I should be doing galley slavery right now.
Oh, been there. Yeah, I love these covers. I think I've said this the last time, but I love them again. I love her dress. I love they've just done such a great job that you look at this and you've got that 1940s noir feel to it, but it has those little details that you look closer and you go, oh, this is not exactly that, and
no,
those
it's
hints
not. It's not exactly that.
No, but it's great, and her dress is phenomenal. That catches me every time, the detailing that they got right on the dress, and then the pin curls, and
for the first one, I found a dress in a Sears catalog that the artist used.
Oh, great!
It was perfect.
I remember when those would come in the mail every month or so, trying to get you to buy the things. So presumably if it's out in March, because of the way traditional publishing works, this novel's in the bag. It's already written, edited, and turned in.
Yes.
Was there anything that surprised you from where you were in book one to this one that you didn't see coming? Because generally speaking, once you get started, you can kind of predict where things are going.
There was one plot development that the nature of the characters kicked off that I didn't really think it would till they started talking with each other in this particular scene. And I'm not going to go into enormous detail about
No spoilers.
what
So
it is, because it has ramifications. There will be more books, and it has ramifications down
Yes.
through.
So is this going to be a long running series? Is it going to be a trilogy? How long do you think this would be?
Let's see. I have sold 5 of them, and I'm working on a 6th.
Yay! That makes me
So-
happy.
When you say sold, does that mean you've already written the first 5 and turned them in and you're writing the 6th now?
Correct.
Wow. Okay. Sometimes people, I know sometimes you can get books sold before you've written them. I haven't dealt much with TradPub, but I know that's a thing. That's why I was asking.
No, they are written.
That is cool. Have you seen the covers for the other ones yet, or have that not
They
happened?
do not exist yet. Or
Okay.
if they do, I haven't seen them. I don't think they exist yet.
The covers on the first 2 were phenomenal. Like you definitely nailed the vibe you were going for.
I'm pleased with them.
Yeah, like they don't get more noir than what you did, and still
Yeah, it's true.
otherworldly.
Well,
vibe.
that's what I was working for. I was just, I was having fun. They're fun to write. I can be silly. I can say nasty things about the way things really work, because my detective is of mixed race and gets his nose rubbed in it every so often. He's also, a World War II veteran and wakes up screaming every so often, as sometimes happened. I had an uncle who came back from the war pretty much ruined.
So,
Well, and you were saying there's a jazz scene. I'm just reading your description. So he's helping out a musician there. Are you also musical? Did you pull that in as a side piece?
I am about as musical as. No, I'm not. Let's just put it like that.
One of those. The comparison is not coming to you.
The homework, about the clubs and about the people.
It's so fun.
And about the drugs and the mob and all the connections. It's just, oh my God.
So there's 2 ways you can do language when you're talking about a set period piece. You can just write it in modern dialogue, so that way the readers can understand it. And the assumption is you get that it's a period piece through some of the other things. Or you can try to write it the way they might have spoken, which can sometimes be difficult. Which approach did you take with this series?
I try to write it as it would have been spoken in the late 40s.
Okay. So what kind of research did that take? Because I imagine that is...
this is the language my parents spoke. Come on.
Okay.
I'm old. This is the language I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, I know it's not the same in all regards as what we speak today, but yeah, this is, it's not real hard for me.
Yeah, I've always wondered, because I've thought about some military period pieces, but I don't know if I can safely assume that just because soldiers, when I served where I served, cussed like a lot, that was necessarily true of, say, someone landing on Omaha Beach or whatever. I just don't know. It'd be interesting to do some research, but I know research can be dangerous because you could fall in rabbit holes and never come out.
But what a lovely way to go.
Absolutely. I love it. But my publishers get mad, and my co-writer tells me I owe them books, and it just gets ugly.
It's strange how that works.
About every little thing. Come on.
Well, see, my problem is my co-author has my mother's phone number, so it's kind of
That's true.
Yeah. So with this series,
and his mom likes me, so
yeah, with this series, how much into, now that you're deeper into the series, how much into the paranormal side have you leaned with this?
Increasingly.
Sometimes I've seen people market stuff as paranormal, but when you read it, it's like so light that it might as well not be there, which can be frustrating if you actually wanted the paranormal stuff. So yours
the stuff is there. I trust me on this.
Okay. So reader, you heard it here from Harry. It's there. He promises.
Oh, it is. I've read the first one. I had to buy it after the last show, and so I'm excited about the second one because
And because
I've seen it's definitely there.
Because we talked about this last time, dear listener, rather than make him reinvent the wheel entirely, I will be linking to this episode from last time, so you can listen to that as well if you're interested. So this is sort of a follow up on the previous interview. With this series, since you are writing book 6, are you keeping it on a tight timeline, or have you taken it sort of saga over years?
It's on a fairly tight timeline, but all right, a lot of people who are listening to this will probably have read Patrick O'Brien's Aubrey and Maturin books.
Yes.
And in the introduction to one of them, O'Brien says, I have more stories to tell than there are actual years. So some of these may have to be taken as occurring in 1812 or 1812A or 1812B. And I am, 1940 died A, 1940 died B.
Sticking things into the corners to make it all go together.
Yep.
So what was your favorite part of the 40s that you added into this world? For me, it's definitely the cars. They had some really nice cars back then as far as the aesthetics. What was it for you?
Oh, I was just interested in because before I started playing with these, I didn't know anything about the Central Avenue jazz scene and the clubs and the people, and this is stuff that I learned about for the first time in the after hours clubs. Deacons is based on something that was real. I've exaggerated it for the purposes of fiction, but it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are any of the locations that you've written about, because we talked about with Powerless that you write Los Angeles a lot because you know it so well, are any of the locations that you've written about as far as like the music establishments and such still around?
No. That's
that would be cool if they could
actually that's not quite true. The Dunbar Hotel is still there.
Okay.
But the clubs are gone. The clubs are long gone.
Well,
but now it sounds like when we read this book, we should put on jazz in the background just to kind of set the tone, and then go from there. Make a little playlist for it and
smoke a little reefer.
Not in my house, but
that is not medical advice, people. He is joking around. Obviously, listen to your doctor. Now, don't sue us. So with the jazz, when you were doing the research for it, obviously there's two ways to approach research on music, because I got a minor in music when I was in college. Did you do the research in purely academic and look at the behind the scenes stuff, or were you listening to it too?
I was mostly doing it just as an academic approach.
Okay.
It's I'm not it's not my music, but the people who made it. Oh my Lord!
The thing about jazz that's so impressive to me is how much of that is improv,
and
how much of it is they learn the rules just so they can break them creatively.
Well, yeah, that's how you do anything well, pretty much.
But it's when you play in a lot of, especially in a military setting, when you play in bands that's so regimented, the idea of ad hocing it is just so foreign to me that seeing people do it and do it well is just mind blowing. But I've heard from people that play that style, they see the same thing about the way I was taught is the same, because it's just so different from what you know.
Well, and they have chord progressions. They have foundation stuff. I played piano for a jazz band for a while. And so a lot of times my sheet music was just sets of chord progressions. And so it was, we're going to stay in this key and in this set of things for about this many measures, and then we're going to switch to something else. And that's where it was. And so improvise what's going on, but stay in this key so that we're at least all in the same key. So that there are foundations to it, but then you kind of go from there.
Okay. So now that we're in the second book in this series, do you have a favorite character in the City of Shadows?
Well,
He
I
asked the
mean,
hard questions.
obviously I'm rather fond of my protagonist, who is, learning things that he didn't expect to learn about himself and about his city as he goes along, and I hope entertaining the reader as he goes along too.
I grew up on Dick Tracy cartoons, so I like the hard-boiled detective vibe. Did you throw at least one dame in there? Now listen here, dame.
Oh yes, there's a dame.
Outstanding. See, I asked the hard questions. Is there anything else, without giving spoilers, because we want people to buy and read the books, about Lightning Ruins that's now up for pre-order that you want to tell listeners and readers?
Well, I mean, obviously it's a classic of world literature, and you should immediately rush right out and pre-order it. I mean,
Woo!
And get your library to pre-order it, and
oh yes,
tell your congressman
and your grandmother.
Yeah,
she may even remember the period.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I look forward to it. I'm gonna have to check it out. I know it's traditionally published, so I know there's got to be audiobooks.
Yes.
If it's not out yet, it's in works. Generally, that's pretty standard. So I'll have to check it out. Now, do you know who did the audiobooks?
I do not know. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay. I'll check that out, because I listen to that when I work out at the gym. It's my motivation to not suck and quit and be a wimp. And I'm like, well, if I can only listen to the audiobook while I'm lifting, I have to push just a little bit harder, because I got to know what happens next.
Yeah, got to get all the way to the end of the chapter.
Yep, I've lost 80 pounds this way, and I'm going to just keep it up.
Oh my gosh! Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to this one, because I'm going to have to get it. I get my next credit December 1st. I'm going to have to check this out. Speaking of credits and books, to your listener, be sure to leave a review. Please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books. It really does matter. With that, Harry, if they wanted to find you on the wild interwebs, where might they do so?
Best place to find me is on Blue Sky. I'm at HNTDove, and I annoy people there quite regularly.
The Blue Sky, if you don't know, dear listener, that is the one of the alternatives to Twitter. If you didn't like some of the changes to the algorithms there, it's an option for people.
If you're not a fascist, it's a good place to be.
And it also is it's got a decent sized book community there, much like Instagram and TikTok have the book talk and the, I don't know what Instagram. Bookstagram. There we go. So even if you're not political and you don't want to worry about that, it does have a decent sized reader community there too, worth checking out. Mm-hmm. And we will link to all of that in the show notes. And Jana, I have promised you that before season 6, so I am running out of time, but in the meantime, before I link to you in our dedicated Blasters and Blades link tree, can you tell us how we might find you, dear Jana?
Oh, yes. You can find me over at linktree, linktr.ee/Opal Kingdom Press, or you can go right to the source at opalkingdompress.com. That is where myself and my multiple personalities hang out. And you can find me all over on all of the different things, Amazon and this, that, and the other, under my pen names, which are on this side. As I often say, I am the loser at hide and go seek on the internet. I am usually very easy to find. And if you find these pen names and it's associated with books, it's probably me.
Every time you say that, I am listening to all the family planning meetings that we had to go to as military brats, where during the Cold War, they reminded us that loose lips sink ships, and there could be commies around every corner spying on us. And now you're just putting it all out there on the public bulletin board. And I'm just like, JR, it's okay. The war is over. The USSR doesn't exist anymore. We can talk about stuff.
Mm-hmm. I'm older than you are, and I've gone through the whole, we really should keep a lot more of this private. My son really wishes that I would, because he's on the side of, please stop telling people that. And it's like, okay, but my job is to be an author, and if people can't come and find me so that they can read my books or hire me to edit their books, then I have no job, and thus I have no food, and that makes me sad. So I have to have some level of, this is the public me, and then there are certain things like I don't talk about the names of my kids or grandkids or any of those things. So I do draw lines, but you can find my writer personalities all over, because they're not a secret. I want you to buy my books.
Jana, I know your daughter's name. It's Hey You. I've heard you call her that.
That's right.
Hey
That's
you.
true.
All right.
Yep. Hey You, and the cats are called Stop It.
Yes. You can find
Ours,
us.
ours is usually, you stupid cat.
Might have had that name too.
Oh, so that reminds me of a question. Most of the hard-boiled detective type stories have at least one cat in them. The City of Shadows.
Yes, there is a cat. Not only that, he's a talking cat.
The talking cat. It's
All
amazing.
right.
And in Lightning Rooms, there are 2 talking cats.
Oh, sweet.
There you go. You heard it here first, people. All right. You can find us on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast, where you can find all the things: the BitChute, the Rumble, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitters, the Spotify, the Discord, the Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page. We have our email, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. For professional purposes only, people. Save the shenanigans from Adam Stabby Stab over there on the Instagram, the Twitter, and the email. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that is for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink that brand coffee, tea, and hot chocolate until they float away on happy river of caffeinated joy. If you want some of that brand coffee, link is in the show notes. Discount code is podcast grunts. You get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. It's a win-win, people. And with that, I would like to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades Podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things to go boom. This was fun as usual, Harry. I appreciate you coming on, and we look forward to having you back again on your next release. And so I will tell Lou that as well, your publicist, that you are always welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I had a good time.
All right. And with that, we will hit the end button. Don't cuss yet.